Pete, you're on. We have, every couple of years we go off the bid.
I said, I've seen most of these, wherever Kirk went.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if
We-
you have, I haven't. I haven't seen it.
We've, got every 2 years we put out a bunch of the town services to bid. There's a spreadsheet in front of you with the bid results, and he'll speak to his recommendations on some of these bids. Obviously, propane delivery is only one bidder, so Quality Propane, we get the town contract. Gasoline, Pete, you want to go into gas? Looks like East River
There's
was.
2 bids of delivery, and what you're looking at is the cost of driving to New Haven, picking the fuel up and delivering it to Public Works. That's not the cost of the actual fuel itself. We pay the rack price at New Haven.
It's better,
Yeah.
all right.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
And we,
5 cents a gallon.
we bid that separately because not all carriers carry gasoline, so we try to look at it a little bit differently. And really, in combination with the diesel fuel bid, if you look at diesel, which is again over rack delivered for New Haven, we do about 40,000 gallons a year of diesel fuel through the Public Works fuel farm. Number 2 is we have still some oil burner service in town, very limited. Most of it's been switched to natural gas or propane. Gen Monthly is really generators, which is the important part of looking at all this. We have diesel generators in town that have to be serviced on a monthly basis. In other words, fuel has to be dropped off at the generator. And you see the price difference, but if you go down below, you'll see an asterisk next to the pricing. And if you look to the right, you'll see what the asterisk means. So, for instance, Sound Petroleum, they'll deliver it for 8 cents a gallon, basically, 8.5 cents a gallon, but there's also a service charge of $85. And Santa will deliver for 25 cents, but they have a service charge of $125 an hour to do the service, whereas East River Fuel has just 44 cents a gallon, no service charge. You can deliver an awful lot of fuel for $125 an hour. So because it's a real large contract, even though Santa is a little bit lower on the price per delivery for the rack on the diesel fuel, the overall contract, I would prefer to keep it to one vendor. And I think when you look at the generator charges per hour to deliver or service charges, I would recommend that we choose East River for the whole gasoline and diesel number 2 as your generators, rather than split it.
Okay. Sweeping looks like, catch basin cleaning looks like an easy one.
It's an easy one to do.
Wethersfield sweeping.
Iselin Tree Service has been our vendor since I've been here. You can see that basically there's 2 sections to it. One is the equipment charge. Iselin doesn't charge us for any equipment. Running Brook and Northeastern charges. Running Brook's $50 an hour, Northeastern is $1. And then below you see the crew breakdowns. Islin's crew prices for 3-man crew per hour, the day rate, the emergency rate, climber, and the day rate again, and the emergency rate. So basically 90% of our work occurs on the regular Monday through Friday or weekly during the business day. So I recommend, again, because Iselin does not charge us for the equipment, and their Monday through Friday prices better. I would recommend that we use Iselin Tree Service for the town contract.
Okay.
Trash removal at the bottom, All Waste and Global. The Global's prices were so significantly different. I had a meeting with them this week, and they emailed me yesterday and withdrew their bid. They actually hadn't really read the detail on the print, so what they supplied was a 1-year price as opposed to a 3-year price. So we had to go through that process with them. And we've clarified their contract, and they withdrew their bid yesterday afternoon. So All Waste has been our vendor for the past 3 years, and I recommend that we continue to go with them. Not much choice. Yep.
Those are the only 2 that bid on the track?
That's the only, well, somebody came in late, John, after the big close.
Yeah,
I believe it might have been Schweitzer, but I'm not sure.
yeah.
Yep.
Private.
Yeah, it is. Septic, there was only one bid. He's been our vendor for the last, he's been our vendor actually since I've been here.
I'm just curious, where does he dump the truck?
I have no idea. We pay him so much a gallon to pick it up. That's where he dumps it is his option.
I would really want to check that out, from what I've seen, photographs of him doing.
Well, Carol, I mean, he bids on the price, I pay him per gallon to, you know, I'm assuming he gives us the dump tickets.
Okay.
So,
He does.
yeah, he has to submit the dump tickets to get paid because it has to have the gallonage on it and where it's dumped. That's the only way he gets paid.
All right.
All right, so. I don't know what else to tell you. I'd be careful what I'd say in a public session.
I'm not saying anything.
Well, you just did by not saying something, you just said something, so.
All right, Sam?
Sand, Indian River, obviously is the low. What you see is, it says what the D and the PU means, it's probably a poor way of putting it, but is delivered and picked up. I have two different pricings in case I want to pick up the material. The sand's pretty local. If I get a larger truck, I will pick it up and save the amount of money that goes through there. Highway safety is the only one that, salt, you have 4 different bidders on that. American is obviously the low bidder. I think you can see the difference between Cargill didn't even offer any differential in pickup. Eastern didn't offer any differential in pickup, and International offered a very minimal amount differential. American offered a substantial amount in tonnage per ton in pickup, so recommend American. Safety marking, highway safety is the only one that bid on it. Portable toilets, Olson, who's been our service now for 3 years, are the lowest, and they've been a good company to work with. And then we have generators. Northeastern and Central and GDL. We asked GDL to review their contract. We have a right to go back and ask them. The issue we get into here is, and I've said to Willie,
What do you mean generators?
generators, all the town facilities have generators
This
hooked up
is a
to.
service contract?
This is a service contract, this is emergency services, this is preventive services, preventive maintenance, this is before a hurricane's come and go check the generators, this is the generator breaks down, come fix the generator. So it really encompasses all kinds of work, but basically it services every emergency generator at our communication towers, at all our facilities, Board of Ed and town. It's a, you know, much like the trash and the septic. So we have a very good track record with GDL. We asked them to review their contract. They reviewed it. They submitted a modification to it. Really, in order to change the contract, I think you have to have, because it's such a delicate service, you have to really have, I think, a reason to change it. Their response time literally is 5 minutes, which in our business makes all the difference in the world. And that says a lot when you're dealing with a company. They are in town, they respond, and when there's a problem, they come right. During the hurricane, we had a few problems during the blizzard, they were there in 5 minutes and took care of it. When you can least afford, or during a hurricane, you can least afford to have an issue. So even though their pricing was a little higher, actually, they willing to give you a modification on it?
Come down a couple $1,000.
Couple of $1,000. I would prefer, being the guy that has to run the whole shebang, to stay with GDL for the extra couple of $1,000.
I'll tell you, with the Central Electric, they did the LA generator installation, and
It was
not fun.
we've spent a lot of money correcting that,
Correcting
and we
stuff.
don't have a good track record necessarily with Northeast. They did another installation that was a nightmare.
Which we,
GR Wade and the HVAC,
this is the first time we've done this.
yes, we've never done this before. This is town-wide. There's a huge spreadsheet, it covers every building in town again.
This includes library?
Includes every building we own other than Board of Ed facilities. And it does not include the boilers here at the town hall because that is a different requirement, different license. So what this is a preventive maintenance contract that they look at all the heating units, they look at all the air conditioning units once a year on a schedule. They go through a checklist, much like the generator. They have to go through a complete maintenance program that's laid out. They have to turn in a checklist of what they did and what was done. Includes, talking about changing filters, adjusting belts, looking at bearings, looking at freon levels, test running the systems, air conditioning would be done in the spring and heating would be done in fall, looking at heat exchangers, air exchangers, all the things that need to be done on every building we own. And I will speak to this because I've wound up having to deal a lot of this with a lot of different buildings in town because things just weren't maintained. We get in there and we find out filters hadn't been changed in
Well,
months.
this is preventive maintenance.
It's also emergency maintenance too, emergency service.
That's why you see the weekends and holidays.
That's
Well,
why you
yeah, I
see-
see that, but that's a per hour, that's
That's just for the call-in other than the preventive maintenance.
a labor.
The
charge.
annual is the actual preventive maintenance process that goes through. The estimated supplies is an estimate. Everybody gave me a different estimate, as you can see. Weekends and holidays is the emergency rate when you get something out of the preventive maintenance contract, which we always get. So for the prices listed there, they will go through everything twice a year. GR Wade has done a ton of work in town. We're very familiar with their operations. I've tried to call Commercial Air a couple of times. I haven't gotten a response. I generally like to look at when there's that much of a differential in the low bidder. I like to go back and, very much like Global, I called their references. I like to go look at what they do somewhere because that is a significant change in bids, as is the upper bid. So in this case, I'm really recommending you go with the middle bid, which is GR Wade, because
What's their new number of?
there's 17 below that, I think.
For,
I have it here, what is it? Yeah, 17, yeah, so it'd be 8,000 something for the preventive maintenance program. To me, they have so much experience. They do, right now, they handle John Crowa's work on all his data closets that are air conditioned lever boxes. They've been more than helpful at the PD, trying to correct a huge problem we have at the police department. They are involved here at the town hall as well.
Library.
At the library. They've done a lot of work for them, for us. We have a very good track record with them, and they're very responsive. And it's not a matter of us worried about whether or not they're capable of doing the work. I think it's a matter of being pleased that you have the ability to get them to do the work as opposed to anything else. I cannot really confirm anything with Commercial Air. I've returned their phone calls and called them. I think their bid is extraordinarily low, huh?
And why is Johnson so high? It's 3 times.
Couldn't tell you.
'Cause that's-
I mean, I think what they did, Liz, they looked at just the bid information and being unfamiliar with the town at all.
Yeah.
Kind of what Commercial did, because there's a spreadsheet that lists every building, the equipment in every piece of the building.
Okay.
I think they just did a look at it and somebody sat in an office and typed it up and sent it in.
Yeah, because to me, that's the outlier. I mean,
Yeah.
GR Wade and commercial are.
So I think the upper and the lower in this case are not, I don't find them appropriate at this point in time. So those are all the bids, and those are
Your recommendation?
my recommendations.
Okay. Questions? Any discussion on it? Motion to approve?
but now, just in light of the discussion that took place earlier, we have 3-year contracts here, 1-year contracts, are these things?
They're all 3 years.
3 years.
They're all,
All
well, it
3
doesn't
years.
say that.
Yes, it does.
So it says 3 years.
Yeah, well, like the HVAC, it says annual.
Yeah, but it's a
Doesn't
3-year
say-
bid, it's a 3-year bid. The contract will say 3 years.
So their bid of 8,000, et cetera, is for
Per year.
3 years?
No, it's per year, that's a per
Or
year.
3 years, so
Okay,
it
so-
will go up.
That's an annual cost, but it's a 3-year contract.
I just have a quick question. There are 2 that we just discussed that might come down on that price.
Mhm.
How do we handle that? When we accept their bid, are we going to accept it with the?
They've already submitted paperwork.
Okay.
Yeah, GR Wade and GDL.
You have the number for GR Wade right there, what is it?
GR Wade was 1,700 and GDL was,
No,
No,
the
that's
total.
right.
Yeah.
oh, the annual?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, 8,248.
70, and then the supplies stay the same, right?
Yep,
And the hourly stay the same?
the hours is,
Right.
So that would, that would be for a 3-year, so what did you just say? So all of these are
Every
3-year
year review.
contracts?
Every one of them,
It's an
3-year
annual cost.
contract.
The only one is that's for the prices for the whole 3 years is the always price.
Yeah, the always prices is for,
That's
Well,
not
the
an
rest
annual,
Well,
of these are broken down to, you can see that it's,
an annual cost.
yes.
and even on always, there's not a mistake, but the 72,000, where am I at always? Always, the 72,000 is the 3-year for the Board of Ed.
That's the total, that's the
Yeah,
sum.
the town, that is the total for 3 years. The town that's a 1-year price, I went back and looked at it, so. So it'll be 37 for the town.
So,
I can't believe no one else does it.
Huh?
I can't believe no one else does it.
Yeah.
Correct.
The waste removal,
And Schweitzer's always coming and want to know when we're doing it.
I think he's the one that showed up
Showed late.
20 minutes late.
Good.
Yeah, right.
I know the answer to that. They're all, they all
All right,
fought each
I'll
other.
make a motion that we approve these recommendations.
second on that, and we can discuss it further.
second.
All right.
So in light of section 57B.
I can get you copies of it, basically, it's the bid documents you need to see.
Yeah, you got-
5-7D, shall authorize the execution of, blah, 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 blah.
The bids are sent to us.
What do we do with this then?
You're authorizing the
So we
execution of,
just- Okay.
Right,
the bid document becomes the contract.
right, exactly.
So what they've submitted in their bid contract or as amended becomes the contract. And that is incorporated into whatever you get a notice to proceed, you get the insurance in, you get the acceptance, and you agree to a 3-year contract between, 2013, 14, all the way up for the 3 years. So the prices that you see reflected here are incorporated into the contract, but it's the actual bid document that they hand filled out and they submit.
All right.
That
So,
becomes the contract.
so, I mean, I'm really confused because you say that these are all 3-year contracts, but we're looking at 1 year.
Annual,
figures
these
on
are
some of
annual
these.
costs.
Like the
Some you
tree
multiply
trimming.
by 3.
Hmm?
Some you can multiply.
I gave you, some of them I gave you a 3-year span because there's different prices for the 3 years,
Yeah.
and others are just, it is for the 3 years.
So like Iselin's fee per hour, et cetera, would stay the
Who?
same?
Iselin.
Iselin, yes,
Stay the same for 3 years?
3 years.
125 an
Yeah.
hour?
yep.
Okay.
Like the fuel delivery is the same for 3 years, except where, where you see the differences are really on the,
Yeah, on the.
not on the trash, on the sand and salt more
Right.
particularly than anywhere else.
Okay, all right, I just didn't recognize that.
Because
Reading these.
the bid for the sand and salt, they gave me 3, some of them kept the price the same.
Well, I'm surprised
$75.
that all these, that most of these numbers don't have numbers split out for the next 3 years.
Well, because it's
That's
a-
why that's.
No, because that's the annual cost
It's
each,
just it's one fee.
one fee
Each year.
per year.
Okay,
It's more the way I wrote this spreadsheet out, Carol, than it is with the,
yeah.
He's got a new assistant now, it'll be a lot more organized.
there's only so many hours in the day. I split it up the way I can look at it as opposed to thinking
So
of
that
something
25
else.
cents per gallon over the rack price holds for 3 years for quality.
Correct, for delivery.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, abstention, the motion carries.